Hi. On today's episode, I spoke with the singer JoJo. Now, this intro is a little different than the others because this chat was among my early ones that I did for the podcast, and I didn't quite get all of the info you'll need to follow the story. So sorry. But before Taylor Swift made headlines by re-recording old albums and releasing them under her ownership, there were other young artists held hostage by record labels and working to reclaim their voice. Joanna JoJo Levesque is one of them. JoJo signed her first record deal at just 13 years old. Her smash hit, Leave, Get Out, under Blackground labels, made her the youngest singer to top the Billboard charts in 2004 at age 13. What followed, though, was almost a decade of legal disputes and unreleased music at what should have been the height of her career rise. But JoJo's a fighter, and she found loopholes, like releasing mixtapes for her fans who had created hashtags to free their favorite artist. And eventually, JoJo did get out of her label contract, suing Blackground under child labor laws. In our interview, JoJo called herself a rugged bitch. I just love that. Her resilience, growing up surrounded by addiction, instability, and a controlling music industry is rugged. But what I loved most about my conversation with JoJo was her depth, her introspection, and the way she shares so openly what she's learned on this path. Anyway, I hope you find something in our chat to connect to, and thanks so much for joining us on Reclaiming. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Audible. Love getting lost in heart-pounding stories? Audible delivers thrills of every kind. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat today. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/reclaiming. Thank you to our exclusive fashion partner, Reformation. I honestly can't tell you how many of their pieces have become my go-to favorites. Their sweaters have this incredible way of being both polished and comfortable. And in fact, when we recorded my own reclaiming story for the podcast, I was wearing the same Reformation sweater as the producer interviewing me, but thankfully we had the Clara on in different colors. Their clothes work for all moments in my life, whether it's a casual day out or a more formal occasion. I always find myself reaching for my Reformation pieces. Visit Reformation.com to see why they're one of my favorite brands for stylish and sustainable fashion. I was just thinking, maybe you should warm me up. We should do warm-up vocals.
Have you done warm-ups?
I do them when I do speeches. I have a whole, whole thing.
My friends who are public speakers have asked me, like, what should I be doing? Or how do I get my voice back or whatever? So I'm like, yes, come to mama.
I'm so happy to be here with you.
Me too.
We met, I think it was maybe like 6 or 8 months ago at one of Questlove's game nights. And I felt like we had bonded with Brianna Wiest and Amir, a.k.a. Questlove, over playing Operation, a game with the little tweezers, pulling out those tiny fucking organs.
A childhood game that I hadn't touched in like 25 years probably.
I hadn't played either since I was a kid, and I don't know about you, but I felt like when I was a kid, the buzzer was so traumatic.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this isn't so bad. Someone probably sued them.
No, it used to scare the shit out of me. It scared me a little bit, though, because I was like,
I don't know. Brianna was amazing.
She was amazing.
She just got all of them. I don't think I got any of them. But
what we did get, though, is like, I felt like I had some kindred spirit. Yeah. I felt like, oh, I'm so happy I met this person. Ditto. And I just... and I felt the same about Brianna too. And I was like, it's so cool to meet women who you're just like, oh, I like this person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think we feel like, I find at least, that people who have a sense of self and who have been probably working on themselves, there's an energetic depth of soul that you kind of read and feel in a way. It's a whole other language, I think. So, and then Amir and I were trying to coordinate coming to see you when you're starring in Moulin Rouge. Oh, yeah. And, but we couldn't make it happen.
Moulin Rouge was the first musical that I've ever done on Broadway. And I did it for the first time last year and then got asked to do it again this year. So I did 12 weeks this year and it was so much fun.
Yeah. It's funny. I walked here today and I happened to walk past the marquee for the show. And it was, I took a picture, but now I'm going to try to remember. It was something like underneath. It was truth, freedom, beauty, and love.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh, that's you. And so coming to have this conversation with you and seeing that, I thought that's a really interesting. It just felt like an interesting sign from the universe.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, those are 4 of my favorite words that I could meditate on forever, just to think about like wanting to embody those things and call them in. So I think that's one of the things that drew me to that musical.
Oh, interesting.
Is those words, yeah.
Yeah. My mantra is more relaxed, centered, and expansive. Yeah. You can use it.
Thank you. Relaxed, centered,
and expansive.
Thinking about those words makes me feel better. I like that.
Yeah. It's just sort of, I had it printed. I have it all over my house on like weird little engraved this and it printed that and this and that. So, so for you with the Broadway show, was that something that just kind of unfolded, or is that something you had, I mean, you're an extraordinary singer, but had you always wanted to be on Broadway?
Yeah, I'd always dreamed of it. I'm from Massachusetts, so New York isn't far. So my mom and I would take the Bonanza bus from like Providence, Rhode Island, or Boston, because we lived right in the middle, like in Foxborough, Mass. And I did Broadway auditions as a little kid, and I got my start in theater. So I did a local production of The Who's Tommy, and I did A Midsummer Night's Dream at the Huntington Theater in Boston. And I think that if I hadn't become successful in pop music so young, I think I probably would have gone the musical theater route. My mom studied musical theater at Syracuse for a year and then dropped out, but she was really, really gifted at that. And I absolutely love theater. I love live theater. I love the community. And it was not something that necessarily it didn't just fall into my lap. I had to manifest it and go in so prepared and act as if act as if I could do it, even though I didn't necessarily believe that I could. I hoped that I could, and then I over-prepared and then felt okay even to go on the audition, you know?
Yeah. I was really, I mean, I still love musical theater, but I did it in high school. So it was sort of, but I was not very good. I was Ethel Toffelmeyer, the pianola girl in Music Man.
Oh my God.
So who's like, I was the shapoopy. And I was a terrible dancer. And I remember trying to teach myself bell kicks. Like I had a canopy bed. And
what is a bell kick? I don't know.
That's the sideways, the sideways kick up in the air.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That thing. I think it's called a bell kick. Maybe it's called something else now.
I can't do that. So I need to really expand my musical theater dance things, for sure.
I will not teach you. So
I'm like, get up, let's try it right now.
But you were, okay, so now were you already singing, because you were singing from a young age?
Oh yeah, I mean anywhere anyone would listen to me. My Aunt Connie would go to the nail salon in town and she'd bring me and I'd sing for the ladies. It was just super precocious and just really clear that I just loved to sing. I'd been singing since I was 2 years old. I don't remember, but my mom was like, as soon as you were making sound, you're putting melody to it and just always experimenting with your voice.
Oh, how interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting. I talked from a really young age, but I don't think I was putting melody to it.
It was just always in me. Both my parents sang, and it brought them so much pleasure and joy, what they could do with their voices. And I think I was electrified by that. It was just such a culture in our home of music.
Okay, so you're young, you're singing, you're doing theater, and I was raised in LA, and so Hollywood is everywhere. Yeah. But was fame something you were interested in? Were you doing something that you were just enjoying, or was it also about like, okay, I want to be famous?
Yeah, fame was something I was interested in from a young age, and probably because I was a ham. Like I was just, I wanted to act and sing and dance, and anybody who would listen to me, I'd put a hat out on the street. You know, my mom would let me do that, and I would get to like collect some extra money and she'd let me, go to Friendly's and get ice cream. And so it was like I saw that I could do something in exchange, something that came naturally to me and brought me joy and brought other people joy. I could leverage it, get money from it, and like attention. And I liked that. I was an only child. I was bullied pretty badly in school. So I think that the fame, my desire for some level of fame, felt that like it would have just been validating and vindicating.
Okay.
So maybe
so
it
sort
came
of
from
like
that
as a
place.
way to inoculate you from the pain of what they were doing, or it would make them stop. Why were you bullied, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, probably I was always singing. And maybe that was annoying. And I would just be singing in the halls. I mean, I was just singing in the bathroom. And I didn't even realize that I was doing it. And I'm not just like, rah! But sometimes I'll just be humming a melody, or I'll just be thinking about something or practicing something. But I'm not like, I wasn't doing that for attention in school. So I'm sure I was a certain personality type and intense and passionate, and kids, I didn't fit in. Right. So that's why I was bullied.
Yeah. No, you showed them. So
I did show them, but
I mean, it's those scars, like the childhood scars. I feel like in so many of my friendships, and when you have those deep conversations, no matter what rabbit hole you go down, you always end up somewhere with a story from when you were little.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we get imprinted so much by that, and
it's crazy.
Yeah.
The language that's underneath our skin that, you can't see on the surface, but if you do get to know somebody deeper, then it's like, those wounds are still there.
And then you got, at a young age, right? You were still very young when you signed with Blackground, right? And so it was there, and you were 13 that you had, that Get Out was this unbelievable hit, right? So you've like made it now. You're only 13. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me. I mean, like, did you even have your period
No.
yet? Yeah, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
super, super young.
And what did that feel like for you?
It was euphoria. I mean, I was so overjoyed and so stimulated, and I felt like I was really good at all the things that were being thrown at me. Like there was nothing that I wanted to say no to. Any opportunity, any interview, any performance, anything. And my mom, had to be like, you need to do your schoolwork.
It's like you've had this huge hit. You're with Blackground. And then there was this longer period where we didn't get to hear from you as much. I think was there a delay?
After my second album,
right.
There was 10 years.
Okay. And so what was the problem?
They lost their distribution. I was kind of caught up in the fallout of their business decisions. And when you're in a contract with a label, it's a contract. And so they owned my voice, so I couldn't make any decisions with my voice that would make me money or advance my career or allow me to do anything with my recorded voice. So although I had moved at 18, I moved to LA to be closer to them and make things work. And I had recorded hundreds of songs and tried to hope that they would get distribution to be able to put stuff out. They still weren't able to put stuff out. Other artists on their label had started to sue them. I was like, oh, I need to get off this sinking ship. I was advised to file for bankruptcy, but then I was like, I come from a blue collar background. If my family thinks I'm bankrupt, they're going to think, oh, she's a stereotypical child star and she ruined, squandered a career and blah, blah, blah. And I think the embarrassment and the shame of that didn't allow me to learn from my lawyer, who was like, this is what successful people do. You can file bankruptcy. And I'm like, no, I can't. So then ended up needing to go through another process to comb through the contract and find a way to get out of it so I could just move forward with my career, not even try to get any damages or anything. But I saw my career being dead on the vine, and I didn't want, people were like, why don't you just go pursue acting, or why don't you go to college or whatever? But I was just like, I was so angry, and I was just like, no, I have to make this music thing work. And it's what I love most, and what I loved particularly then most.
Sort of in thinking about talking to you and like I was silenced, which is different than someone else owning your voice, you know? And so I want to make sure we talk about like what happened in you getting your voice back, like you owning your voice again. How did you do that? I know at some point, I don't know if this is totally connected, like before Free Britney, there was Free JoJo, right? That people wanted to hear your music and wanted to hear from you.
Yeah, my fans were and are so special and so passionate. And I started to put little hints out there that, you know, I wasn't able to release music because they were like, where the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And it was on like MySpace or Facebook or whatever, and I would just put little things, or I would record things for free and release them. I had started putting out mixtapes and just doing what I could to kind of stay active and keep that relationship with them going and keep myself creatively afloat and all that. And so they started like a hashtag Free JoJo movement on Twitter, and that was something that was really encouraging for me and felt like, okay, I'm not in this alone. Even though I felt really alone at times, they were always there and letting me know that if I, you know, ever felt discouraged, that it wasn't for no reason if I keep fighting. So I kept fighting and eventually sued the label, got out of that, and so it was really frustrating to not be able to have a dialogue with this label who, you know, the owners were like the people that had started my career. I have so much love and so much respect for how they started out my career and how I looked at them. And they were my uncle and father figures and brothers. And there was so much confusion that came about because of that experience.
Right. And did you first meet them? Did you first meet all of those people and it felt like family? Did you have to do, I don't know, does one do an audition for a label? I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, I met with a lot of different labels, and I like I said, I'd sing for anyone who'd listen. So I was very used to like, you know, hey, I'm Joanna, and I'm gonna sing for you. And I loved it. And it made me nervous, but it was exciting. And this meeting with this label was different. It felt like spiritual. It felt really special. And yeah, it did feel like a family. I was actually signed to a production company called Da Family, which was started for me. And because, you know, my executive producer, Vincent Herbert, was like, we're a family now. It's all about us. And at 13 years old, 12 years old when I recorded my first album, and being an only child, and my parents aren't together, and my mom comes from a broken home too, and loss and death and tragedy, I think that we were really interested in having a family.
Yeah. What was the tragedy?
My mom's tragedy. Her, when she was 3 years old, she was in a car accident where her family was delivering Christmas presents, and they got hit by a drunk driver, and half her family died that day. And so her mother died, her baby brother, her baby sister, and her older brother. And my mom lived, her other brother lived, and her dad lived.
Wow.
So half the family died and half of them lived. And that, you know, is the core tragedy that the remaining family lived with, and it impacted everything.
Yeah. I mean, that almost feels like a quintessential before and after moment. You know,
absolutely.
I mean, I know I have that in everybody does in different ways, but for some people, they're just more pronounced, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, my mom was 3 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And to lose her mother at that time is just inconceivable.
Right. Cause you don't even understand, you don't even understand what's happening.
No. And she wasn't being told the truth at the hospital. And, you know, at 3, I mean, you don't...
Right. But what is truth at 3?
Yeah.
Right.
But I think of my grandfather, too, who had this beautiful family, beautiful young family, and he was making a way for himself and his family, and then he's left with, two children? And, I mean, it's just horrible. And then the fact that it was a drunk driver, and then he got off, you know, and...
What?
I think so. I don't think he was in jail for very long.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, 1964 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm sorry on so many levels,
Me
but
too.
also the injustice.
I know. And then how addiction became such a part of my family's experience in so many different ways. And then that core wound is from a drunk driver too. Is really interesting.
Yeah. No, that's really interesting. It's and your folks, it's like such an interesting meet cute story, right? At an AA meeting, is that right?
Yeah, they met. My mom was newly sober, and my dad was older than her and had been in and out of the program. And they met, at a AA meeting in New England, and then they did what is called the 13th step, which is when you get with somebody from AA. Which no, you're not supposed to do that. Because there's a risk that sometimes your sobriety could be attached to that other person. And what if they fall off? You don't really necessarily want to get with somebody who has the same affliction or thing that ails them. But they really were into each other. And then I am a happy mistake from that.
Well, I don't know about... I mean, I guess. Okay, so
quite literally.
Literally? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't planned. It was the first time. And I know this is TMI, but my mom said it's okay to talk about. But the first time she ever had sober sex was with my father. So it was pretty meaningful for her, even though it wasn't planned. It was they had never.
So the first time they had sex, you were conceived?
Yes, and it was her first time ever having sex that wasn't under the influence.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah.
That sort of has you coming in with a really sort of special energy.
I'll take it. Yeah, I mean, it was my mom was at a turning point in her life, and it was obviously meant to be.
Did you go to meetings with them as a kid? And
I did, yeah. My parents weren't together for very long. They tried to make it work. They thought that it was the right thing, and I would go to meetings with my mom pretty often. That's like where we open up in my book, Over the Influence, is my memories of being at meetings with her and the openness with which people would lay it all on the line, let it all hang out. Their stories are some of the craziest things I've ever heard, So from a young age, I was hearing people's darkest moments.
Yeah.
And my mom's.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You sort of talked about this in your memoir about the hungry ghost and addiction. And so it sounds in some ways, I mean, I hadn't heard of it, so I don't know if you want to explain it.
Sure.
Because it was really interesting to me to learn about that.
Well, I think it's a Buddhist concept that Dr. Gabor Mate spoke about. And I just think the way that he talks about addiction is amazing in his talks and on his Instagram and in his books. He has a book called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts. And I don't think of addiction as to one particular substance. I think of it as more of something within us that desires to be made whole or to be filled. And maybe it's because both my parents and myself have identified at different points with like overeating or love addiction or sex addiction but it's not like just one thing. It's just like what can I get to make me feel okay, because I feel so not okay. I'm in such discomfort, and you're just trying to get to equilibrium. So I think that's what, in my limited understanding of what Dr. Gabor Mate is talking about, that's the hungry ghost, where it's just like you try to fill this void, but it's not enough, and because you're trying to fill it with outside things. Whether it's substances or another person or experiences or things like that. And that's the trick, though, that it's not you can't get it from outside.
Yeah. There's so much there. And then like for me, I think as I've gotten older, sometimes it feels like the healing journey is like Memento. Like you're trying to, you're trying to piece together, okay, well, why do I do this thing? If I wouldn't do this thing if something—
if it weren't for this thing.
Right. And that thing, but you kind of go, it couldn't be that bad unless something really bad must have happened somewhere here. In my own sort of healing journey, I think it's been very much, I've had to get to almost like Maslow's hierarchy of needing to get to certain emotional stages where I think I felt safe in order to go into the next level of unpacking, you know.
What is Maslow's hierarchy?
So it's I remember I was a psych major, so it's all about all I have in my head is this: I won a limerick contest for extra credit in my psych class. The theorist whom I despise should never win a Nobel Prize. My life he does mangle. Life's not a triangle. I'll never self-actualize. So it was his theory of self-actualization. And it's this triangle, and it has these different layers. And it's like, it's the belief that you can't actually go to the next layer or level of self-actualization until you have this level. So unless you have food and shelter, right? Being that. And then I don't remember what the other things are, but it's all about sort of building towards self-actualization, right?
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's been this weird process of uncovering the layers of trauma. And so that I haven't been able to do that until I get to a certain level of safety with one issue. Then it feels like, oh, you know, I get to coast for a little bit, and then something else will pop up, and it's like, oh, great, there's more work to do. You know, like, I'm so excited. Lucky me.
Yeah, you're like, why did I commit to this journey of self-discovery?
Right, exactly. Thanks so much to Audible, our presenting sponsor. Are you looking for your next big thrill? Audible's got you covered with all kinds of adventure right at your fingertips. Whether you're into heart-racing mysteries, epic quests, or fantasy, they've got stories that'll keep you hooked. You'll love diving into gripping titles that keep you guessing until the final moment. Experience exclusive, captivating Audible originals you won't find anywhere else. Want to know what everyone will be talking about before they're talking about it? Be the first to hear anticipated new releases and discover must-listen bestsellers that will grab your attention. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat on Audible. Start your adventure today. Sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/reclaiming. That's audible.com/reclaiming. Thanks so much to our sponsor, Reformation. I want to take a second to talk about one of my favorite clothing brands, Reformation. You've probably seen Reformation on Instagram or at a wedding. They make the best guesting dresses. But if you're like me, you may have thought that's all they do. Well, you're in for a pleasant surprise. Last year, they worked with yours truly and Vote.org on a campaign to empower voters to take part in the democratic process and show off their workwear. From doing the campaign and getting to know the brand even better, I love their sweaters, blouses, workwear, shoes, and bags. But most important, I love how confident I feel in their stuff. Plus, it really holds up since they make everything with super high-quality, sustainable materials. Reformation is also a brand that uses their growing platform to do good in the world, and especially in the sustainable fashion space. As they say, being naked is the #1 most sustainable option. Reformation is #2. If you're looking for clothes you want to feel great in and feel better about, head to reformation.com. You wrote this incredible memoir, and so I listened.
Oh, thank you.
It's just so powerful. And you talked really beautifully about different aspects of sort of your professional, it was like your professional trajectory, but then there was also this emotional trajectory that was happening for you too. And you talked a bit about addiction and different things there. And so going back to kind of the label, you're in this situation, you don't want to sue them, you don't want to file for bankruptcy. They own your voice. I mean, it almost feels like The Little Mermaid in some ways. Like,
damn, yeah.
And so
I was in a rock and a hard place, it felt like. And that was kind of a theme. It felt like a recurring theme for a while in my life, where I'm like at a standstill and like, I'm scared. I just don't know what to do. Someone tell me what to do.
And scared of?
Scared of making the wrong choice.
I felt in my life, and I've had to, I think, this idea of mistakes being expensive.
Yes.
And so that sense of I get so nervous about making a mistake because some of my mistakes have cost me an enormous amount and other people. And so was it like that at all?
Yeah. In the sense, I think that when you grow up a child performer, you know that you're going to be applauded. People are going to think it's impressive when you do something the first take, when you do, like, literally time is money. And I knew how expensive it is to make an album. I know how expensive studio time is. I was very attuned to money from a young age. My mom was always stressing about it. We didn't have much of it. She told me she raised me on $10,000 a year. I'm like, that doesn't sound like much. How did you do that? You know what I mean?
Gosh.
She was cleaning houses for a living. Like I knew a lot of these things. So then when I started making money from the music industry and stuff, then I knew that, well, I'm not making money anymore. And I knew life was expensive. I knew that no one was coming to save me. I don't have any help from anywhere else. Then I had to, I needed to figure it out. So I relate to what you're saying, that mistakes can be expensive. So I didn't want to choose the wrong. If someone was going to tell me that this song is going to be big, then maybe it will. And then I should probably go with that, because then that could ensure my stability in the future. And and I could also help my mom and help whatever else needed help. And so I just started have a ton of anxiety about that. But then with that anxiety, then I started needing ways to cope. And so I, started drinking when I was 20, 19, because I was so deeply stressed out and I wasn't able to put out music, but I'm still recording songs constantly. I'm living in the studio because I'm hoping that one of these songs will be at the time where they get their distribution, or where something changes and I'm unlocked, that I'll have the song ready to go, and I'll also be skinny enough that they'll be like, yeah, you look right. And it's all these different things that I was just hoping, but I couldn't really deal with all these pressures that I had put on myself, or that were somehow put on me. I was just, there was so much confusion. And so I was like, I come from a family of drinkers. I think I'm going to do that too. Right. Maybe that'll help. And it took the edge off.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did they tell you, did they say to you, you're not thin enough at some point? You're saying—
when I turned 18, it started to be an open conversation that, now you could talk about my looks. My mom always safeguarded me from that. But then when I turned 18, I was an adult, and, I brought on a co-manager. And I was sat down just like this and was told that I needed to be able to look a certain way to sell the music. And I understood. And I was like, okay, cool. Put me on the 500 calorie a day diet with the injections. And I mean, it was a different form of— it wasn't Ozempic at the time. I don't know what it was, but it was something that tricks your body into thinking that it needs to do something with whatever. And so then did that, shot a music video that didn't even end up coming out. But it was really par for the course. I mean, now that I was 18, it was fair game to be under the same scrutiny that all female artists in the 2010s were under that. Yeah. I mean, it was a wild time.
I know in 98, there wasn't even the term fat shaming yet.
Right.
So
it was just so common.
Yeah. It was
so accepted.
Well, it was just so, and so it felt, for me, it was just nobody batted an eyelash that the New York Post called me the portly pepper pot every day, so.
Unreal.
Yeah. So it's or Jay Leno making jokes, or, so it was just, I think that we as women had started to become a different kind of commodity as there became more and more outlets for things, I think, right? It used to be the news and magazines, and we had sort of famous people were actors and people who are singers, people who chose to be that way. And then as 24-hour news came and tabloids and this whole mix of thing, I think we started to become more of a commodity. And as public women, you're sort of the standard bearer in a way for all other women, right? Everybody, we all become collateral damage in some way, I think.
I think that's a really eloquent, accurate way of putting it. And I think my mind was wandering, and I was just wondering, did you ever want to be a public figure?
yes and no, but I mean, I think when I was a kid, the joke in the family is when I was really young, I wanted to be the first female president.
Really? There's still time.
No, thank you. And then I loved musical theater, but in high school, but I was not very good. So I did costume design and the musical theater.
Okay, both sides.
Yeah, and the drama teacher even said to me at some point, like, you're better on the other side of the footlights. So that was really good for my self-esteem in high school. Yeah.
But I'm asking because, I mean, we talked about how I did want to be famous. Like, I liked that attention. And I can't, in so many ways, I just can't imagine how jarring it is to not really want to be a public figure and then being a public figure.
Yes.
Like that's
and in the worst possible way. I mean, it was
and at a time where that you were like patient zero or whatever.
Exactly.
So,
it was sort of
for the criticism and the ridicule and
being online. I mean, it was pre-social media, thank God, in some ways. I mean, although I think maybe in other ways people would have had a little more sense of me. Of just
if there was social media.
Right. I think because there would have been this history to look at of who I was as a person. No doubt it would have been cherry picked. So that's
a good point.
I think I'm working on a limited dramatic series on Amanda Knox, and that's what happened to her.
Yeah.
So I think her social media being cherry picked and things. But yeah, it was certainly, I do not recommend becoming a public person the way I did. And it is strange for it to not be a choice. I think also
That's violation.
Because it also meant I didn't have the other pieces that go with it, which are usually the resources to help protect you in different ways and make your life easier, those kinds of things. And just trying to I don't know for you in wanting to be famous, but that's connected to your talent too. Those things of if you felt like you lost your identity, or was that just always part of your identity?
I mean, being a performer and being an artist was always a part of my identity, but I definitely did. I've lost myself many different times, and I hope not to lose myself again, but like I will continue to evolve. So I'll probably lose Joanna at 33. Mm-hmm. I'll lose her to Joanna at the next age.
Yeah.
At 40, at 50,
Yes, I'm 51, so I can tell you, I mean,
that we lose ourselves, right?
Yeah, everybody's journey is different, right? But I think what becomes better is you've gone through the cycles of, this is what's happening. It's sort of I've lost myself and I've gotten myself back before.
Yeah.
So I know I can do it.
Yes.
It just becomes how it happens, how quickly it happens. That's another thing. And then for me, when I turned 49, which I thought was going to be a horrible year, it ended up being a year of enormous acceptance, which was so freeing. So that was the gift of turning 50. So
I love to hear that.
Yeah, you have a long way to go.
Yeah,
one
day at a time, one foot in front of the other. But I definitely felt like I lost my identity when I wasn't as famous as I was at 13 through 16. Mm-hmm. That was hard, to have relative anonymity again. I hate that I just said that was hard. It was just emotionally, it made me feel, who am I if if people aren't freaking out, when I'm walking down the street. And not everybody was freaking out, but you know what I mean? But like those moments, it made me feel vindicated. It made me feel like I don't need to go back to my small town. I won't be bullied again. Like it was protection, I think.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I think that it was a bit of a protection, and maybe that if that cachet had gone away, then I wasn't going to be protected. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I also lost myself because I started to want to achieve success so badly and to make sure that my team could eat and that everybody, because I'm providing for everybody, essentially my success provides for people. And if I wasn't going to be successful, I felt like I didn't know what was right for me. I allowed other people to tell me what was right for me because they had more success and experience. And I just stopped listening. I completely disconnected from my internal guidance system, from my gut. And I understand why. I totally understand why, given things that I had experienced growing up, but still, I definitely lost a connection to even what I liked and disliked.
Yeah. Do you, at 33 now, do you sort of look at all that and see what an extraordinary pressure you were under at such a young age? Because I feel that for you. Like those are the kinds of heavy responsibilities that, a parent has, right? To provide for a family. And so you're this teenager in your early 20s and this sense of responsibility,
I think I'm still struggling to really see it as that. But hearing you say that actually does feel true, and it's nice to hear. And my therapist, said it to me when I really needed to hear it too. And she kind of played a maternal figure in my life that was like, you shouldn't feel this way. This is not your thing to feel. But I did, and so I think that there's all different ways that kids and parents can be. And if I have a child, do I want them to feel the pressure to, make sure things are okay financially and stuff? No. But, life is different.
Yeah. Is there any part of you that wishes your talent had stayed your small gift, instead of blossoming into, do you look back on that now in any way different?
I don't really think about it like that because I really enjoy my life, and I really am grateful for the flexibility and the freedom and the opportunities that I have. So I really dig the way things have shaken out, and I'm not like, if only I had just hidden my light under a bushel, like I think I was born to shine in my own way, not in the way that I thought. I think I thought I was supposed to be among the biggest stars in the world. And as life has gone on, I don't think I'm cut out for it. There are things that I
say more on that. That's really interesting.
I really, really like some normalcy. I really like being able to, I don't know, there's so much pressure and there's so much scary stuff that can go along with really, really high levels of fame. And you see that with what's being brought to light.
Yeah.
And I'm not cut out for that. I'm a rugged bitch. I'm just don't fuck with me.
Oh my God, that is a tattoo.
Don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
I did lose myself, and I was like, tell me what songs I should do or whatever, because I was just like, there's no harm in that, but don't do no weird shit with me.
How did in those times where you lost yourself, how did you find yourself again?
Just time. And reading a lot of self-help books. So time and spending time with filling myself up with good ideas and good things and good alternatives. And I feel like what I know people have in AA, which is redemptive arcs. People change their lives all the time. And I think when I grew up hearing about people's rock bottoms and then them rebuilding or pivoting or whatever, that's really inspiring. And hearing other people's stories, hearing other people's turning things around, I think was very inspiring to me. I was like, oh, I think I'm special because I'm going through a weird moment. Everyone goes through weird moments. Everyone loses themselves. I actually have it really good. Nothing crazy happened publicly. My uncle always instilled this fear in me that I don't want to see your vagina on the internet. You know what I'm saying? But I definitely was I would be out at clubs and it was possible. I was blacked out. I was falling over in my 20s. I was like, what if my vagina ends up on the internet? Like, what will I do? And I'm like, you know what? I'll be okay somehow. Like, I'll make it through. And if it kills me, then I guess I died from having my pussy on the internet. But and what a way to go. But I don't know. It's other people's stories. I mean, like your own, of pivoting and of saying, let's just go. Like, it truly.
But it's really it's heartening to me, like, to hear a woman and a young woman to really kind of own, I'm special. I'm special. I'm meant to do something special. I'm here. I think that's such an important part of how you can impact all women, but also younger women, because I think those are the kinds of things that we're raised to not see in ourselves, right? That's the whole advertising industry, right? All of these things, it's sort of aspirational.
Yes.
The flip side of aspirational is you're not enough.
Yes.
However you are.
Yeah.
And so
buy these products or subscribe to this or do this thing.
So I think, for me, I just, like, I hear that and take that in because for various reasons, not just from what happened in 98, but other things that have happened, I think I've struggled so much of just kind of accepting a positive quality. This I can't even say right now, like, something special or something this. It's, it feels difficult for me, or having to work with my therapist about, like, I have a right to earn an income.
Yes.
So feeling those
the right
kinds
to earn
of
an income, to take up space, to be adored, to be valued and cherished. And in my own way, I struggled with those things because I thought that my self-worth was attached to fame or to desirability, not just physically, but, my cachet as an artist, and then my voice, with the condition of my voice, or can I perform, or can I hit the notes that I did when I was 12 years old, or then like a self-fulfilling prophecy of like, oh, I must be bad, so then I'm going to engage in bad behaviors in my relationship life, and then it's just going to make me feel like even more of a bad girl because I'm just out here doing bad things. But when I said I'm special, I'm grateful that I had two parents that really believed that I was special, and believed also that they had something special within them, even with their challenges and with their humanity and all that. But I'm so grateful that they instilled that in me. And so when I, even as a little girl, felt special, I also felt and experienced the magic in other people, in everyone. Because I'm just a reflection of you. And we're all reflections of each other. And the people that we're attracted to are really meant to hold mirrors to, so we can come up against ourselves and we can, challenge each other and support each other and uplift each other. So I really deeply know in my heart that everybody has magic within them. And it's about getting through the things that we've put in place to protect us or keep us small or keep us disconnected for a variety of reasons, which all make sense. And it's amazing that we have these systems in place. But I think that, like, it's so amazing to experience when someone is in the fullness of that, when they know that what they bring to the table is, and it's a humble knowing. I love experiencing that in other people. And it makes me feel like I have permission to do that. And I think that's something cool about this season of my life in New York right now, is that I'm meeting people who are like magic to me, and it makes me be like, oh, I want to find those magical things within as well.
You told this incredible story in your book, in your memoir, about when your dad passed away, and you had to perform, I think, at the NASCAR rally, and that it helped you. Kind of was that part of that connection of finding your authentic voice. And so can you just tell us that story?
Yeah, I had just started a tour, and my dad passed in the beginning of that tour. And maybe 2 days after he passed, I was going to be singing the anthem at a NASCAR rally. And my dad was deeply patriotic. He was a veteran. He was a cook in the Navy.
Wow.
And he loved the national anthem. So in my grief, first of all, I was like, is it disrespectful to, I was like, can I even produce a sound? All I've been doing is screaming. All I've been doing is wailing, that primordial sound that comes from a person that is in grief, and that's in disbelief, and that's in shock. And, you know, that's what I've been doing at the Best Western in Arizona or wherever, whatever hotel I was at. But I was like, I think that I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try to sing the anthem to honor my father. And because I was like, I'm a spiritual person. I believe that someone's spirit doesn't die. I'm like, now he's gonna be with me. Like he was a part of me before, now he's gonna be with me forever. We used to sing together, we used to harmonize. Maybe he'll help me get through this. I was like, so I called upon him, you know, and this sounds very woo-woo, but, you know, you started yelling. I was like, you know, you asshole, you should be here. Like, I need you. And maybe I hadn't allowed myself to say those things before, even while he was around, you know? But now I'm like, just saying them. And in my grief and in my despair, I no longer cared how I really looked or what my manager thought about my boyfriend that she didn't approve of, or if they didn't like this makeup artist or didn't like what I was wearing. I'm like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Nothing matters. So I think that loss and grief can really shake your worldview up and be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so you sang.
So I sang the anthem, yeah. And I don't remember anything other than just like actually feeling connected to the gift that God gave me, which is to, you know, God gave me a gift to be able to sing. And it was a similar related gift that he gave my dad and my mom. And I felt connected to him in that moment. And I felt connected to something bigger than myself. And I think that was definitely a hinge point in my life.
And so what was that? Like, if you can just run me through, how do we get to like the JoJo of the last 10 years?
So, you know, I had toured after my second album. It was very successful. I did some movies. There were things, and then I was recording for so long. Then I was in this lawsuit, blah, blah, blah. I felt like I had lost my youth and my moment in this window. And that's kind of what was being impressed upon me when I was getting ready to put out my first album in a long time. I couldn't sell this bad bitch comeback thing that I was supposed to. I wasn't available to do that. It wasn't true. And I cannot lie. My new EP is called NGL, which stands for Not Gonna Lie, because I just suck at it. So if it's not authentic, like, it's just probably not gonna work. So the process of me reclaiming my voice from a legal perspective was that I wasn't going to sign the same type of contract that I signed before. A big part of me finding my voice was starting Clover Music, which is my record label, which is where I started to release things over the last few years. And whether that's in conjunction with a distribution company or completely on my own, I've done different types of deals with that. And I learned a lot about ownership through not having it and the different streams of income that an artist can have, you know, from master recording and then publishing and mechanical royalties and licensing deals, and that's just from a record. And then there's all different ways that an artist can make money. But starting so young and not having any background or experience from it, and then feeling, by the time I like kind of woke up to everything, I also felt embarrassed that I didn't know. So then I didn't want to ask questions. And so I'm still learning so much. And it's like trial by fire. So the process of me reclaiming my voice is I'm still having an everyday new relationship with my voice and trying to get back to when it was fun and play. And it wasn't about a result. It was an exploration. And I am just able to have fun with it now. Everything felt like so life or death for such a long time. And I'm not doing fucking brain surgery. God, like, hopefully no one's gonna die because of me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, why am I making this so intense? I just want to have a good time, and I want other people to have joy and pleasure, and that's how I want to do the next 10 years.
Yeah.
God willing.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
This was so great. Oh, thank you. This is so great.
You're so good.
So generous.